9 and 10 Pirate Ride. Given that this is already in the style of a game in FNAF VR, certainly does help in porting this to an arcade cabinet, but there would be some things that they'd have to change, like turning it into one of those like classic shooter arcade games where the screen scrolls as you fight off bad guys threatening innocent civilians, and it tells you what to shoot and what not to shoot. Yeah, that's the kind of arcade game I see this as, except instead of scrolling sideways, it moves forward like the cart does in the ride in FNAF VR. It could just be a simple aim and shoot kind of thing, but maybe they could add some animatronics sneaking in and throwing some cake or pizza at you that you'd have to shoot to block. This would be in order to end the game early, so that you'd then have to pay more tokens, or just straight up money depending on how the system was run, but based on modern practices I think it would be a token system because it probably would end up making them more money in the long run. And at 9, Fun with Plush Trap. Fun with Plush Trap is a simple game that would operate much like it did in FNAF 4 for the arcade cabinet. Despite having more of a presence in FNAF VR, the simplicity of the controls in FNAF 4 would be exactly how this game operates, just in an arcade cabinet, which would require you to just push a button to get the light to shine, and then you let go of it to turn it off and allow Plush Trap to move, giving you the 60-second countdown to a jump scare if you fail to stop him before the timer, or if he gets to you before you stop him. It's a simple game with a simple premise, but it would work incredibly well for an arcade machine, and I think plenty of people would play it. And maybe you could have like multiple levels like Donkey Kong style, with various smaller nightmare animatronics like Fun with Nightmare Balloon Boy, Fetch, Mini Arenas, etc. Assuming that Plush Trap isn't a form of Fetch already. And today, Plush Babies. The 2 Plush Baby mini games where you have to look around for the various somehow animated baby plushes before they get to you is an interesting concept that with some tweaking could work for an arcade cabinet. It would require a joystick as the spotlight following the joystick, you just move it around to move the spotlight, but it's something that I think would work kinda well, but it would have to be done right. I don't know exactly what done right would look like. I'm an ideas guy, okay, I'm not a programmer, but I'm sure that it wouldn't be that difficult to work out, I hope. It wouldn't be as detailed or scary as the main minigame in FNAF VR, but it would still be something that would work decently well. It may not be the most popular game at the arcade, but that's why you have multiple levels, including the hard mode one and the DLC one in the pumpkin patch. Plus, that's why it's only number 8, because it would be harder to get done properly. And at 7, Nightmare Animatronics. While not the epitome of horror, the Nightmare Animatronics are certainly not the nicest of fellows. Not only that, but they are in fact not real. They're supposed to be in your brain, which makes them even more terrifying if you ask me. Because not only do these like illusions cause horrific visions to anyone who knows about them, they also end up killing a coma patient. Crying Child, as we know, is in the hospital in FNAF 4, making this game just a nightmare. However, getting caught by one of these animatronics causes him so much stress that he actually dies, which is absolutely insane when you look at it like that. These are so scary to him that it gives him a legit heart attack, or just makes his heart stop working entirely, since we know that's what happens instead of brain death at the end of the game, thanks to the flatline at the end, which is horrible and incredibly sad, but also terrifying. And at 6, Claw Machine. This is pretty dark, but you people seem to love that kind of thing. So what about a claw machine that was designed to be Baby while she was grabbing Elizabeth? Is that too far? Like a claw machine that's built to look like the baby animatronic on the outside with a window on the stomach where the claw would come out. And that's where the claw machine is. I think that would not only be a fun way to make it a FNAF themed claw machine, but it would also be dark as hell, and I love that kind of thing. Plus, it's about a fictional death, so it's not really distasteful. The idea also stands that this is something out of the box for this list, and I wanted to see what you thought about it, rather than just ranting on about the various minigames in the series for 10 minutes. However, it's time to get back to that, so moving on! Halfway through and at number 5, Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex is an entertainment complex owned by Fazbear Entertainment, as well as FNAF Security Breach's primary setting. This pizzeria's mascot is Glamrock Freddy this time, and has a Glamrock band, which is Glamrock Freddy, Chica, Montgomery Gator, and Roxanne Wolf. The pizzeria also houses these staff bots, as well as a Moondrop / Sunny Drop animatronic, Music Man, and Music Man Spider. Oh god, I hate those things. Hey kids, do you want pizza? Well, Fazbear Entertainment has spared no expense developing the world's most extreme family fun center. It's literally a mall. Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. At 3 stories tall, it's the flashiest, raddest, rockingest, safest pizzeria the universe has ever seen. Of course, Freddy and the band are excited to meet you. Utilizing the latest in animatronic technology, you can actually party with the stars themselves. So, on your next birthday, let Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizza Plex make you a superstar. I think we all know why I want this place to be real. Okay, it's just cool. Okay, I have to admit, it's pretty cool. And laser tag. And at 4, Security Puppet. Ah yes, Security Puppet. One of the 3 mini games required to play through to completion for the Lore Keeper ending of FNAF 6. And let's be honest, you should always play mini games through to completion, otherwise it's just mean. The Security Puppet minigame was pretty simple. Keep the assigned child away from the exit. However, the only catch is that there was no assigned child until the 3rd time booting up the game, where the child will already be outside, thus you failing. We know that this child is Charlie, who goes on to possess the puppet, and this was the only time we've seen a kill from 2 different angles. However, a game kind of like a Where's Waldo kind of thing with security bracelets seems like a wonderful and simple idea, especially when we know what the character is really trying to prevent. Would there be a green bracelet character, or would we only be looking for the green band? I don't know, it would be up to Scott. Also, Scott, or I guess whoever takes over next, please do this. Getting close to the end, in at number 3, Glitch Trap. We know my issue with Glitch Trap, alright, okay? We know that I just want to watch William Afton burn and then leave him there permanently, hence why I'm wearing the costume. But I want him to actually be in hell and then stay there while we move on with another killer or something else in the series, please, for God's sake. Scott, I hate this always comes back thing that he's got going on. And despite being dressed as Purple Guy, I want William dead. So, when I saw this frighteningly realistic looking Glitch Trap costume, my nerves hit an all-time high. I think the sheer simplicity of the Glitch Trap suit is certainly something that makes this a creepy costume, since the stitches are very accentuated here. They're very clear on this version. Like, it might be like the higher contrast than like the actual suit in the games, because like you know that they're there, but you can't really tell. But like, either way, this is creepy. Plus, again, it's another version of William Goddamn Afton, who already haunts my nightmares. So what the heck? Zombunny Creations, again, on Twitter this time. Why do you gotta do this to me? Huh? Why? Bro? Penultimately, in at number 2, Midnight Motorist. Midnight Motorist is another one of those games that you could test in FNAF 6 that just feels right. The game is pretty simple, but it's certainly exactly what we need in an arcade cabinet at a pizzeria. A game for the short attention span of a child. You simply drive around until you run into 3 things, then boom, it's game over. You get tickets based on how far you went, or it's one of those lame ones where you don't get tickets at all because there's no feasible way to calculate that, which would also be kind of understandable. Or you just get 3. You know the ones I'm talking about. Midnight Motorist would make a good arcade game aside from the whole yellow guy mustard man debacle, so cut that part out and you're in the money, baby. Go forth and collect the king's tax of tickets and tokens. And finally, in at number 1, Fruity Maze. Fruity Maze, I think, was the obvious first choice here because while yes, the game does progressively get darker, it doesn't have to. You can stick to the original like level 1 Fruity Maze motif, add a proper goal or objective, and then have a weird FNAF version of a Pac-Man style game. Boom, you're done. Just don't make it depressing and allow the player to continue as long as they can, just like a normal Pac-Man game would work, and you're good. And you're golden. Golden Bonnie, dare I say. And maybe throw in a certain level where it's like the messed up dog, flowers, and blood kind of thing, just to make sure it's authentic, because knowing these comments, you'll all be disappointed and even get mad if these things don't turn into something dark and twisted. I don't know about something like new being added to the series in the real world, but like, I don't know if you'd want that to be twisted and disturbing, like if it was a new arcade game, for example, but something like Fruity Maze, you'd insist on it. So yeah, I know you're all sick and I love you for it. And 10 mini arenas. Why are the mini arenas so damn creepy? Like, they're not scary per se, but they literally tear Ballora to pieces, so that's something, at least. Like, the mini arenas are basically the robotic version of those kids, like, in your neighborhood that are always screaming or causing trouble at all hours of the day. And like, you know, they go to a nearby school so that you literally always have to deal with them no matter what. Or they run down the street when you knock on their door to see their older brother, and then their family is so damn lazy that you have to take off after him running down the street and after him because his family's not gonna do anything, even though it's literally a toddler running down the street in nothing but a diaper at 11 in the morning. And then you catch him in front of your other friend's house, and then you end up having that kid pull your hair, kicking and punching you all the way back to his house. At least he wasn't screaming, because then you might have gotten arrested. Then they don't even thank you. Did I just say all that out loud? Okay, well, my old neighbors were trash, and okay, that's a story for another day, but that's what the mini arenas remind me of, except they can kill me, or stuff themselves into my body while I sleep in order to escape their underground storage facility, and I don't think that kid was gonna do that. In at 9, Circus Baby. Let's move on to one of the deadliest animatronics in the game. Baby has a on-screen death count of 2. The first being William's daughter Elizabeth, and then the other being Henry as we see in FNAF World. But it's not just the ability to kill that's crazy, it's the incredibly advanced technology present inside this animatronic that's impressive. The ability to contain a whole child-grabbing claw, and then also a containment chamber for said child is pretty damn impressive, but also the ability to use pins on her body to change her appearance is also pretty nuts. Not to mention all of her other features like ice cream dispensing and balloons inflating at her fingertips. But all of this again is overshadowed by the absolute carnage Baby has the ability to wreak. Dare I say, let there be carnage. And honestly, that's probably just the tip of the iceberg for the animatronic, not even including the Fazbears Fright versions. And I know that this isn't a Minecraft video, but did you know that only 14% of people who watch these videos are actually subscribed? You could be watching our videos all the time and not actually know that you're not subscribed. So, if you do like these kinds of videos, hit the subscribe button. It's free, it helps us out a whole lot, and you can always unsubscribe if you want to, okay? It's not like a marriage, okay? We don't get half your stuff if you choose to unsubscribe. Okay, now, on with the video. In at 8, the Scooper. Now, I know you may be mad and think that this is like a stupid point, but like hear me out, okay? The Scooper may seem like a weird but kinda normal thing, at least by FNAF standards at first, but with the blueprint revealing how this actually works, this thing is an incredible piece of technology. It can inject whatever it ends up scooping with Remnant, a molten metal possessed by souls, that is capable of keeping a person alive after removing their insides, as we see with Michael. Replacing it, because, you know, he gets his innards replaced with innards, and then, like, you know, is able to walk around, and then after those robotic parts leave his body, he can still just chill, in essence, making him just a walking case of flesh. Unless it didn't actually remove anything and instead just opened him up and then had the animatronics go around his bones, but that would still require some serious juice to keep alive, and that's pretty damn impressive. But also horrifying, because while he may look more like he's just bruising, if the purple on Michael's skin is actually decay like some suggest, that Remnant injector is actually able to animate a dead corpse, in essence creating zombies, which would then start a zombie apocalypse, and that's been done to death, no pun intended, so you should all understand how bad of an idea that is, okay? Zombie apocalypses generally aren't good, especially animatronic fueled zombie apocalypses created by intense agony possessed metal that gets injected into someone's no-no square. And it's 7 Happiest Day. The Happiest Day minigame is some of the most important lore and moments in the series, with the original missing children from the first missing children's incident from 1985 getting their souls released, showing that there are multiple ways to deal with what would later be called Remnant, the infusion of metal and soul, or rather metal and extreme emotion, or maybe in Springtrap's case, metal. Get it? Because his human meat is also in the suit. Never mind. Either way, the Happiest Day minigame is not a simple one-shot minigame. There's some build-up to it. It's like the main story of FNAF 3, so seeing those various minigames and glitches come together into a single arcade cabinet would be a beautiful sight. Almost as beautiful as Glamrock Chica. I mean, as my idea for a real FNAF pizzeria, which you should go totally watch, by the way. It's in one of the corners. I don't know which one anymore. And at 6, the Twisted Ones. Well, the Twisted Ones do certainly seem to live up to their name. The Twisted animatronics are these horribly disfigured creatures that get no love from their mother, unlike an ugly duckling. The thing is, these don't grow into swans. Instead, they use another bit of tech that I'll get into later to disguise themselves. They also dig deep into the ground and wait until the middle of the night to crawl out and then take kids who wander away from their mommies. This legit sounds like some urban legend that parents tell their kids to make sure they stay home or get home after dark. I mean, I don't really know what else to say about them. That's the way the news goes. Halfway through into number 5, Buff Helpie. Okay, this may not be a cosplay, but Buff Helpie is probably the most disturbing non-cosplay character I can really include on this list. If you didn't already know, Buff Helpie is a meme that was created on a Daco FNAF meme review video and has ever since been haunting him and the rest of the community. Don't get me wrong, okay? I love Helpie. But this buff Helpie meme has generated a whole load of buff FNAF character ideas, and it terrifies me now. There's nowhere is safe from these creations. If you look up any character, you're bound to find a buff version of them at some point. You just need to scroll down enough, okay? It's one of the rules of the internet, okay? Same thing with what happens to Chica. But no matter what, this is just some psychological torment that I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, actually. But I'm talking about it because, like, it's Halloween, and the world is currently my worst enemy, so if I have to look at this thing on a regular basis when I'm writing these goddamn lists, you have to look at it for this one number, okay? One number. That's all I ask. And at 4, Lonely Freddy. Lonely Freddy already in a way has a parallel in our world, kind of. Like that trope where someone becomes your friend and then becomes more like you and then tries taking over your life. I feel like that's a thing, but maybe I dreamt that ages ago and forgot about it, but I mean, it's possible, but also just plain old identity theft is another version of Freddy, okay? Identity theft isn't a joke, Jim. A Lonely Freddy was introduced in the Fazbears Fright books and is basically meant to explain what psychic friend Fredbear is, but a robot that steals your body and then traps your consciousness into its original robot body. What the ever-loving hell? Why is that so goddamn terrifying, especially in concept? But what if it was actually a thing? Well, it's easy to say that we would just try to avoid them, but we wouldn't know that they exist. We would just be lonely kids dreaming about having friends and someone who doesn't hurt you when all of a sudden a robot wants to be our friend. It would be vicious and definitely would have gotten me when I was a kid. Hell, it could get me now. Like, I legit wanted a robot friend because they wouldn't end up turning on me or something like that. And then here we go. Here's this. I just wanted someone to play games with. And if those people ended up not being people but instead robots, I would have been fine with it. That would have been fine with me. Except these would have taken over my body, so that would have kind of been a bummer. But that begs the question, when you get put inside the Lonely Freddy, would you then get the ability to take over another person's body, or would you just be trapped in there permanently? Either way, it's terrifying, but I want to know. Getting close to the end, and in number 3, Circus Babies Pizza World. Circus Babies Pizza World was a location created by William Afton after the closing of the first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The grand opening of Circus Babies Pizza World was apparently cancelled due to reported gas leaks in the building. Sources close to the establishment questioned the report though, saying that the strange activity around the area at night suggested something else was to blame. One local is quoted by saying, "Everything just stopped. There was so much excitement built around the place opening, and then they just stopped talking about it. There was only a handful of people that ever got to look inside, kids from here and there, making sure everything worked right, you know? I guess they weren't quite as ready as they thought they were." A tenant from across the street claims to have witnessed a large group of cars surrounding the building during the night, and large pieces of equipment being taken out of the building under tarps, which is kinda weird. And a few weeks later, the building was for sale. And while Afton's daughter might have died due to the baby animatronic, I think it would have still been nice to have a Circus Babies to visit. Even if it was designed as a murder den, but like, hey, I can get over that. Penultimately, in at number 2, the spring locks. The spring lock mechanisms is probably the most intuitive thing that FNAF World's invented. The ability to move robotic parts out of the way enough for a human to fit inside is insane, and while it may be dangerous, we also drive over 100 kilometers per hour in huge metal death boxes, so can we really complain? Yes we can. Because while yes, cars have their faults, they are nothing compared to the ability to be both animatronic and suit. And then, like, that's an incredible feat of technology. People keep saying that spring locks actually exist in the comments, and I don't think that's true, okay? No one has ever given me a source, and it's not a thing, okay? Yet, these are also terrifying because of the same reasons in game. Someone can dress in it and pretend to be a robot, and then everything can clamp down on you in any second, as it has multiple times before. It can trap you, okay? It could, if it were real, crush you, and do everything that we learn about from the books and the games, okay? It would basically just make your life hell for fun, especially when it can be a robot, and the man who was once inside of it can smile knowing that you and all your friends can't fight off a huge hunk of metal. But also, like, I would never get into one of those things. Like, even if there hadn't been an incident, that seems like a final destination moment. I wouldn't do it, even if it's in my contract. If they tell me get in this or you're fired, I quit. Like, God. Or actually, no, I let them fire me so I get a severance package. If they have one. And then I can sue them for wrongful termination. And finally, in number 1, the Illusion sound discs. I used to mention these a lot, at the very least, because these are astounding. If you didn't already know, in the original FNAF novel trilogy, it was revealed that the Twisted One's animatronics used discs that changed how others saw them, basically creating an illusionary appearance using sound emitted from that disc that messed with your brainwaves. However, the mere existence of these discs puts everything we know about the series into question. Like, how do we know that anything is real? FNAF 1 has us hallucinate multiple different things like it's me, along with multiple news clippings and posters. What if that was all the discs? And if it was, what if other things were changed by the discs as well? Like, what does the pizzeria really look like? Do the animatronics have different appearances than what we actually see? Are they more rotten? And given that they were leaking mucus and blood beforehand, I feel like they should have been decommissioned. But if this technology existed, I would have trust issues even more so than I do now. Honestly, this might exist, and we just don't know about it. Disney is probably using it because they're like the evil corporation of the world, right? That's a thing, is that we're never getting sponsored by Disney, but that's fine. And at 10, Fazbears Fright. Fazbears Fright, the horror attraction, is the name of the fictional location in which FNAF 3 takes place. The attraction is a replica of the old Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, or a replica, located inside an amusement park, meant to revive the decades-old legend that surrounded the establishment. Outfitted with old animatronic parts and suits, as well as dim lighting and true-to-life decor, patrons would walk through the building like a haunted house, reliving the nightmare of 30 years ago. Fazbear's Fright consists of a collection of hallways and the office, along with several large vents. Any of these areas can be viewed by the use of the monitor, which is located on the right side of the office. The establishment also appears to be quite large and well funded, boasting 15 cameras, which can view both the hallways and vents, not to mention multiple vintage animatronic heads and suits, including several seemingly authentic remains from both the first and second game's pizzerias. It's also assumed that it is the second Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, like the second one in total, not the second game, since it was the building that William was locked in. Now, I'm not down for scary stuff, especially stuff where I can actually die, but if you make it safer, then I would actually be down for like a haunted house like thing. I'd be down for that. And at 9, Montys Gator Golf. Now, not only do I want this to be playable in Security Breach because I want to play mini golf with animatronics like I've been saying for like 2 years, I just also want like another mini golf course. That'd be fun. I mean, like, this doesn't seem like anything original. Like, it's a black light neon mini golf course with an alligator theme. I can go to Niagara Falls or even downtown Toronto to find one of these. But the sheer scope of this area with all the animatronics that it has, like crocodiles coming out and stuff and whatnot, is absolutely insane. If someone put this much effort into a mini golf course, I think we would all be going there instead of these other indoor mini golf places. This place would be so packed that they'd get fined for violating regulations even back in 2017. Like, that's how beautiful this place is. It's unfortunate that at least from what I've seen, you can't actually play mini golf, or maybe you can't play it until later on in the story, but nonetheless, it's certainly a beautiful thing to look at, so I would love this in real life. And at 8, Roxys Raceway. Roxys Raceway is a large indoor go-kart track and one of the many locations inside of Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizza Plex. It appears in FNAF Security Breach, and the hallway leading up to the area is decorated with speakers, tires, trophies, and motorcycles. The raceway itself is a Wild West themed go-kart track decorated with neon purple lights, because that's kind of her thing. The Glam Rock Beauty Salon is also located here, but in my hometown we have a place called Neb's Fun Roll, and actually it's kind of like the Mega Pizza Plex in a lot of ways, but instead of animatronics, it's focused on bowling. But they also had a go-kart track, much like Roxys Raceway, and honestly, I never got the chance to try it from what I remember at least. I begged, but I never could. So if Roxys Raceway was real, you know damn well I'd be the first there, and I wouldn't have any mercy. You think you're gonna get ahead of me? Just wait, I brought banana peels from home. Just try and cross me. See where you end up. Oh, you're a 6-year-old kid? Who cares? Do you think I do? You clearly don't. Fazbear has a horrible reputation for kids. Your parents probably brought you here so that they wouldn't have to deal with your whining anymore. So I'm gonna do it for them. And at 7, Ennard. Costumes don't really have to be elaborate to be scary. Take for example this Ennard cosplay by YouTube channel Skywarped33. The entire endoskeleton spaghetti bits aren't there, but the lights and sounds make it even more frightening than you'd think. The face also opens up, and I think that we all know how I feel about animatronics who can move their face at will at this point, okay? It's not something that should be allowed. However, even without all the parts and the eyes, this Ennard cosplay is not something I would want to run into in a dark alley, especially not after that goddamn vent repair minigame that caused me to have some serious issues, okay? It's rough, okay? I used to like spaghetti. Man, like now what am I supposed to do? And it's 6th bedroom. Now honestly, the only reason I put the FNAF 4 bedroom on this list is because I'm tired and want to go to sleep. But also because the layout is freaking nuts for a kid's bedroom. Like, are you kidding me? The bedroom is a relatively large room. The walls of the room consist of the same blue design as the rest of the location, before splitting into a design that is like more like that of like the closet have with that. Anyway, this room has 2 doors on either side. The closet can be seen directly in front of you with multiple shirts hanging on it. Like, the walls of the room are decorated, consisting of several stars and paintings. An air vent can be seen on the left wall next to the door. In my apartment, I didn't have a vent in my room, okay? I had to have a giant AC. Next to the left door, there's a light switch. It's not ages away like mine was. The ceiling, it's like a normal simple popcorn ceiling, but you know what? It's still better than just flat. A toy caterpillar, blue phone. This kid hasn't had to clean up his room in years. This is the ideal kid's room, okay? I'd have killed for something like this. Hell, I'd kill for something like this now. Halfway through into number 5, Corn Maze. Corn Maze is one of the most stressful games in all of FNAF VR, compared only to the likes of the hallway from that very same DLC. Corn Maze revolves around you walking through a maze made of walls, not corn, for some reason, in search of colored keys. These keys unlock their respectively colored gate and result in you winning. However, Grim Foxy is chasing you and he always knows where you are. The only way to really get him off your tail, pun intended, is to hide behind cardboard cutouts after he notices you. The maze is also filled with clusters of crows that will alert Foxy to your location if stepped on, which will result in him finding you faster, as well as scaring the living hell out of you. This game, in the same vein as the Help Wanted flat mode version, but controlled with a joystick and buttons, would work incredibly well, and you wouldn't have to find all 4 keys to unlock a secret one. You just don't have a secret one and you're golden. Man, I'm a genius. And at 4, Jeff's Pizza. Jeff's Pizza is a pizzeria from the Fazbears Fright universe that appears in Into the Pit and the epilogue of Gumdrop Angel. Oswald describes the pizzeria as a very weird place. The rundown restaurant has pale yellow walls, tons of unused floor space, and lots of unused electrical outlets along the base of the walls. On the far wall is a small stage and an empty dance floor. The vinyl on both seats has been repaired with duct tape, plastic letters have fallen off the menu board above the counter, and in the right back corner of the pizzeria is a large ball pit surrounded by yellow netting. It looked like it hadn't been cleaned in years. A sign that reads, "Do not use" is attached to the rope. The red, green, and blue plastic balls are faded in color and strangely sickly, but Oswald jumps in it anyway and was time warped to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza after using the restaurant's ball pit, and does this multiple times. And in the 8th book's epilogue, Detective Everett Larson searches it to investigate the mystery about what's going on, and he finally comes across Jeff's Pizza and is handed the keys by Jeff to enter. He hesitantly enters the ball pit and notices that the balls looked exactly like visions that he'd had previously, and he looks closer at the plastic balls and notices that old blood is covering them, and he collects some samples before leaving. But I feel like this place is so run down that the food's gotta be great, so I kinda want it. Getting close to the end, and in number 3, human robots. This is something I'm sure people won't think is scary, okay? Some scary good, maybe, but hey, the fact that there are robots that are actually able to look like humans is terrifying. Like, that's such a scary thing. In the original FNAF novel trilogy, it's revealed that Charlotte, the main protagonist of the books, is in fact one in a series of 4 robots meant to allow her to grow up properly after being killed at an early age. But not only is she a robot, also apparently she's also baby. At least from what I remember reading about the books, Charlotte's robot was also able to look like baby thanks to the pins on her body that I mentioned earlier. Yeah, that is the epitome of horror. Who in their right mind would think of a concept like that? And then, what if it was real? Like, we would all be goners. Like, imagine the fembots from Austin Powers. That's basically this. And then all the down bads would be trying to give it to them, and then they'd get themselves scooped. I'm surprised it didn't happen in the actual novels, since that one guy had his gears turning, if you know what I mean.
And if you do, can you please explain it to me, because I'm not even quite sure what I said there.
But ultimately, into number 2, Fall Fest. If you're unaware or just forget, the Fall Fest I'm referring to is the centerpiece of the FNAF VR Curse of Dreadbear DLC. The main hub for the Halloween-themed area is the Fall Fest, and sits outside what looks to be a farm. Many pumpkins and hay bales litter the area, and I mean they literally have a corn maze, and I feel like that's like a farm thing. And to the left, the player can find a tractor and a blood moon, hanging in a green sky of all things. To the right, a barn can be seen, which is actually the location of the prize room for this mode. And behind the player is a small wooden stage with a banner over it reading Fall Fest 83, although I just want a Fall Fest any year. And a rusty car with headlights next to it. Behind the level select you can see a scarecrow, and way back in the distance a house on a hill that looks strikingly similar to the house featured in the menu for Five Nights at Freddy's 4. The blacklight mode switches the game between the standard menu and the blacklight menu, however there are no blacklight levels to play. This switch is just a way to actually activate Easter eggs. But I still want to have like a real FNAF Fall Fest in this world, so like can we do that next year if the world allows it? Cause that's kind of dope. And finally in at number 1, Freddy Fazbears Pizza. I think that this was a pretty obvious number 1. I mean everyone who knows FNAF and enjoys FNAF wants a real Freddy Fazbears Pizza. Well, aside from Scott, and ignoring the whole animatronic murder and possession thing, right? Actually, according to some very disturbing comments on previous videos, particularly those when we describe how a real Freddy Fazbears could actually work, no, y'all want the murder too. Since multiple comments have stated that they want to get killed in the pizzeria so that they can then possess an animatronic, which is one of the reasons we don't have a real one, aside from Scott just not wanting to do it. And also, I mean, like, come on, if you want to die there, I'm sure that there is someone who wants to be a real William Afton, so, like, they don't say it out loud. And you know it's not me because I express my desire to go on a rampage on a daily basis. But also, the whole wanting to die in a pizzeria thing is kinda counterproductive. Like, FNAF's possession revolves entirely around suffering agony. And that intense agony then reaching out to grab something nearby and take control of. But if you're content at dying in a Freddy's, then how could you be in agony? I mean, like, I guess the pain could be the cause, but it's the emotion of agony that does the possessing, not like the feeling of just being stabbed. So in order to fill your dream and possess something, you'd have to have it not be your dream. So all in all, 10 out of 10, don't recommend. And at 10, Springtrap. Craftix Gaming's YouTube channel features a video of a real Springtrap costume, and honestly, it's terrifying. Springtrap is the main animatronic of FNAF 3, and this costume is freaking nuts. This is a very good costume, and while Springtrap may not be the scariest animatronic, he's not someone I'm gonna want to tussle with. However, I want to talk about what's going on with this character because, my guy, you dressed up as a possessed man who is inhabiting an animatronic, unable to die but still decaying. You are quite literally dressing up as a serial killer. Like in the FNAF world, if you dressed up like this, it'd be like if you dressed up as Ted Bundy in this world. And if you want to be in FNAF that badly, okay, don't dress as the serial killer, is all I'm saying. And I know that's ironic coming from me, okay, given what I'm dressed like at this moment. Do I look like I want to be in Five Nights at Freddy's? Have I made things seem like I want to be in this world? Because if I have, you need to watch more of these videos, okay? Also, I'm dressed up as the purple guy who makes no appearance in the actual FNAF world, okay? There is no actual, okay, there is the actual purple guy, but he doesn't look like this, okay? The purple guy that I am dressed as is not actually a real version of the serial killer in their world, okay? I don't want to be in that world. Those doors aren't it, Chief. They ain't it. No, the doors ruin it for me. And at 9, Scrap Baby. Scrap Baby is a creepy animatronic. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Scrap Baby is by far creepier than the normal baby animatronic, and this costume certainly does it justice. Animatronics are a difficult costume to really make, since we're people, and unfortunately do not have robotic limbs for the most part. Or if we do, we typically try to make it look like a real leg instead of a robot leg. But a Scrap Baby is even more difficult since, you know, it's a scrap animatronic, and it has a giant freaking claw in its hand. Scrap Baby is a very damaged and recycled version of Baby with a realistic reddish orange kind of bodysuit, light blue stuff, yellow pigtails, and okay, she wears an orange top with red frills, and it's just super damaged, okay? Like this, she's very damaged. Mentally and physically. Yet somehow Instagram user Gaius Bazzani was able to recreate this in an awesome way. So, very well done. And at 8, Vanny. With Vanny being an upcoming villain and already one of the most popular characters in the series, there are bound to be plenty of costumes of her. However, this one from Rojito Uwu on Twitter is probably the most accurate and creepiest one I've seen. Vanny being a reluctant follower does in a way technically make this a Glitch Trap cosplay as well, but we won't really talk about that because that's not what counts. This costume is probably the most realistic costume on this list because, well, Vanny in the games ended up making her own suit and is just a human inside, whereas like the other characters like Scrap Baby or Springtrap are animatronics as well as sometimes part human, be it soul or another body. And Rojito's costume follows the exact same concept as Vanny, just a person who makes their own suit, which makes this potentially one of the scariest things of all. I mean, technically it's not the same thing because they're not possessed and enticed to make it by the person possessing their brain. But, I mean, it's close enough. I mean, they could be possessed for all we know. I don't know. I don't know. And at 7, Phaser Blast. Phaser Blast is one of the many locations inside of Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizza Plex. I mean, like, some call it Phaser Blast, others call it Fazer Blast. Either way, I call it fun. I love laser tag. I grew up playing it, and if COVID wasn't a thing, I'd be a regular Barney Stinson, rocking it in this and playing every other weekend in a suit. Laser tag is one of my favorite things because it's fun, active, and I get to take my anger out on children by shooting them with lasers. In my hometown, there was a place called Laser Extreme, okay? It was the pinnacle of laser tag, and it was my favorite place to go. I'd go with my friend Nick and we'd wreck kids using like superheroes as code names. I'd go with my friend Cameron, that's where he got his nickname of Spike. Those were the days, man. It's unfortunately closed. I think it's because of COVID, but Laser Quest, my other option, kinda blows. Or at least the one I was going to was pretty garbage. The blasters didn't register half my hits. But being able to actually play against animatronics in the Mega Pizza Plex makes me so happy.
Laser tag! Yes! Yes, yes, yes!
Especially if we get like a VR port of this game, or like a VR fan game version of just specifically laser tag. I don't care about the rest of the game, just specifically laser tag in VR. I need that, please. And at 6, Nightmare Freddy. Nightmare Freddy is one of the most iconic versions of the character, even if there are only 3 games that feature this guy, those being FNAF 4, Ultimate Custom Night, and FNAF VR. However, this Nightmare Freddy cosplay is insane, and in my opinion, would have been our frontrunner for the Coupe de France cosplay competition that it was for back in 2017. The video was uploaded by YouTube channel Gorgon Geek, and this guy plays the robot thing really well. But as soon as he drops that microphone, he goes into terror mode, and it's certainly something to behold. I would have enjoyed it if he had like the little frettles with him, but the moving mouth is certainly a nice touch, especially with the attempted jump scares they do in the video, because he just goes like ah and stuff. Like, imagine if this guy had started twerking though. At one point I thought he was going to. He went to pick up the mic and I thought he was just going to start busting it, but no. I think that would have won them gold though. If you get this out of here. If you had started twerking, my guy, you would have won. I don't know what place you came in, but if you'd twerked, you would have won. Halfway through into number 5, Fetch. Fetch was introduced into Fazbear Fright's books and is a robotic dog made by Fazbear Inc. that gets a little too loving. So much so that it will actually brutally murder the girl you ask to homecoming, even though her dad is a supervillain. Sorry, Peter, but at least you won't have to feel bad about sending your dad to prison. Either way, a robotic dog that will kill anything you love is absolutely terrifying and should be taken care of as soon as possible. Like, this is why you spay and neuter your animals, people. That's why The Price is Right would always say that. But in all seriousness, could you imagine if this thing was real? Like, if you randomly started getting texts from a robotic dog that followed you home, that instead of bringing you dead birds or squirrels, instead brings you the bloody arm of your crush. That sounds like something the Winchesters would end up fighting after it was manifested by some, like, 7-year-old. Oh, that would, yeah. It's like how they find a body in one of those crime shows, like Bones, and they're like, oh, this robotic dog just found this rotting arm and then put it in my bed. Like, that's like Palant levels of crazy, and if you know, you know. And at 4, Nightmare. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Nightmare is the scariest animatronic from the games, hands down. This guy will get me every time, and it's one of those reasons I just refuse to play FNAF 4. The other is Nightmare Fredbear, but at least I don't have to deal with them in real life, right? They're only a nightmare character created in the mind of a coma patient in a video game, right? Well, guess again. Thanks to Bunny Creations on Amino Apps, we get both Nightmare and Nightmare Fredbear. Ironically, Nightmare Fredbear is played by their twin sister. And I mean, it's ironic because, well, Elizabeth Afton is sometimes presumed to be Crying Child's twin sister. Anyway, these absolute hulking costumes are going to make me drop a load of my pants. Like, if I saw this in real life, holy crap. Like, imagine actually living in a house that is at least kind of laid out like the one from FNAF 4. And then your kids want to play a prank on you. My grandparents' house is kind of laid out like this. It's not as simple as just 2 halls on either side of the room, but like they have the master bedroom does have 2 doors. So theoretically, That's something that can be reenacted there. I don't want to do that. No. Getting close to the end in number 3, deliver pizzas. The mini game that opens FNAF 6 isn't like anything else we've seen. Okay, well, it's kind of like take cake, but this time you're throwing pizzas at kids' screaming faces, and honestly, I love that idea. The fantasy of throwing a pizza in the screaming kid's face has been present ever since those little buggers in my old building bounced their basketball off my door and made my dog go absolutely nuts. But even without my secret thoughts, this would still be a fun arcade game, and I'm not letting you fight me on this. The difficulty of the game was already defined even before the real FNAF 6 started, and it was cool. But then throw in added difficulty of it being a full game and you have a whole new experience. At least, I think it would be at least, so can't be sure unless we try. But ultimately, in at number 2, Twisted Freddy. Holy ever living hell, okay? This is a horrific masterpiece that I could only hope to achieve. This full body Twisted Freddy costume is probably one of the most horrific FNAF costumes I've ever seen. Especially because I believe that the Twisted animatronics are probably the scariest version of the animatronics present in the novels, and a solid tie for the scariest animatronics alongside the nightmare ones from FNAF 4. This is some pretty damn expert craftsmanship if you ask me though, okay? This is a full body suit and it blows my freaking mind. Like, look at this. It would weigh a ton and it would definitely need a hander, especially if my clumsy was the one walking around in it, but it straight up looks like if Freddy Krueger were an animatronic. And I mean, I'm not mad about it in the slightest, but like, it's still freaking creepy. So well done, DeRegular Sauce, who is the Twitter user behind this glorious creation. Well done. And finally, in at number 1, Withered Bonnie. This Withered Bonnie cosplay is probably the scariest damn FNAF cosplay I've ever seen. This is incredible and comes from the YouTube user The Nick of Time. At first, I legitimately thought that this was CGI instead of an actual costume, but lo and behold, it was just an insane costume. Glowing eyes and seemingly actually aluminum parts, and a chest that opens up that you can push it out with your other hand, which is honestly actually a decent scare. Frankly, in the video I was kind of taken aback when they did that, so in real life I'm sure that it was results in at least a bit of a jump scare, but this kind of thing always impresses the hell out of me, because like the closest I've come to making a full costume was when I helped someone work on one of theirs. But that's the closest I've gotten. Hey, I made like a lightning bolt for the chest, and I made paper cup, like bracers, that's about it. This is hella impressive to me. I don't understand how people do this. Well, first of all, let's get this out of the way instantly. If FNAF was real, it would be horrible. Just straight up. 5 kids would have gone missing on one of their locations and the company probably would have closed down. But let's assume that people would still end up going, whether it's because they didn't believe the lies or thought that the government made it up, or because it's their choice, or because they're a YouTuber who wants views. Why are you looking at me like that? Well, assuming that people still went to the restaurant because perhaps maybe they vanished around the area instead of inside the place, what would it be like to live in a real Five Nights at Freddy's? For a kid, it would be pretty awful, but you also wouldn't know it. The world would be dangerous and anyone could be William Afton's next victim, but you wouldn't know that there was a serial killer on the loose with murderous animatronics able to disguise themselves and hide in plain sight that are willing to kill at any moment. But I mean, like, to be fair, that's also like real life, minus the animatronics. For adults, if you have kids, you may be worried. I mean, any parent is always worried about their kids, but if there was a group of kids who went missing in your area, I'm sure that there would at least be a small amount of paranoia. And honestly, it would be reasonable. I mean, I grew up in a house where my father was always worried. So much so that my sister couldn't walk up to her friend's house up the street without him watching to make sure she was okay. And while that would probably be extreme for most parents, if there was a very real threat of kidnapping, I'm sure that there would be a lot of curfews. For the sake of this entire thing, we also have to assume that the police didn't investigate the interiors of the animatronics themselves, despite them smelling like death and leaking body fluids, including blood. Since that's something literally anyone with common sense would check when investigating the disappearance of children and then learning that animatronics are leaking blood and smelling like a dead body. But what of the technology that we see in these games? Would animatronics that can alter their appearance be realistic? No. Of course not. The spring-locked suits, the illusion discs, the twisted animatronics, and the like are all extremely improbable considering the actual technology of not only our time, but the 80s when this would have normally taken place. At least, if we have a rough idea of the timeline, which honestly at this point, we could be totally wrong about the timeline. The technology in the games is so highly advanced that we have absolutely no idea what else they could have access to. They could have smartphones in the 80s for crying out loud. And if they don't, then William should have capitalized on that rather than murdering countless innocent kids, because he could have literally been a billionaire. The highly advanced technology would have to be disregarded in terms of the abilities of William Afton, so while this seems like a fight that nobody could really win, realistically, it wouldn't be as bad as we think, at least in those terms, since even ChuckECheese, the closest thing to Freddy Fazbears in our world, obviously, still only has the most simple robotic abilities known to man, despite the popularity of Five Nights at Freddy's and their ability to capitalize on that trend by taking some of those concepts, like the advanced robotics, not the dead kids, and then converting them into real life, because like the concepts in the actual pizzeria, not having kids go missing, like I said, that's a bad idea. Although based on comments left on previous videos, especially about how a real-life Freddy's would happen, there have been plenty of people that are willing to die, or more likely to go to ChuckECheese if it was more dangerous for some reason. Y'all are weird. But one final query. How would YouTubers handle it? Clearly, there are YouTubers in this world thanks to the mention of MatPat, or at the very least Game Theory in the Fazbears Fright books, so what of the others? Well, we would most likely not be talking about FNAF, something that I'm sure a lot of you would enjoy, but also something that you wouldn't be aware of, which is a whole other can of worms that I won't be getting into today, because you wouldn't know about FNAF because FNAF wouldn't be a thing. However, I'm sure that there would be plenty of true crime and conspiracy YouTubers heading to a or the same Freddy Fazbears where the kids went missing in order to solve the case, or really just talk about it and get nowhere with it. Sounds like someone I know. Since they don't have the clearance or the equipment to do an actual investigation, or on a potentially closed case. Shane Dawson would 100% have gone there for that same conspiracy theory video, and the psychic twins would definitely have showed up at some point and definitely sensed something, but not quite known what it was. Ooh. MatPat may have made a food theory video about it because he made a food theory video about ChuckECheese, but the thing is, these YouTubers coming to investigate, would they be William's next targets? It's an interesting question because as far as we know, he's only killed one adult, and that was Henry. Every other victim has been a kid, so while they may be in more danger, there would clearly be a bigger issue in trying to deal with these YouTubers, especially if they get killed or die mysteriously shortly after visiting a Freddy Fazbears Pizzeria. It would probably start some form of curse rumor that would only get more people to go there to try to solve that case. But how would Freddy's have dealt with the pandemic? Would they have made enough to survive the years of quarantine? Or would they, like our ChuckECheese, have to file for bankruptcy? Would they get to open their pizza Plex? Or would some problematic tweets from William Afton rise and cause the restaurant to get cancelled for calling Chica a he? These are all good questions that we will never really have an answer for because, well, FNAF isn't real. And that's why people keep commenting that nothing in these videos is scary. No, it's not real. Can't actually hurt you. That's why it's not scary. Scary is subjective. Just relax. There are plenty of people who'd like a real-life Freddy Fazbears Pizza, and honestly, it could be closer than we think. Whether it's being delayed because of COVID or some other factor that we can't account for, a real-life Freddy Fazbears would be fun as hell, no pun intended. There were people asking MatPat and Scott to work together to make it happen, but guess what? I've come up with a strategy that could totally work, even if it may need some tweaking because it's the US and I'm working with like Canadian prices and laws and stuff, but it could still translate to an actual plan that can really work to get us a real-life Freddy Fazbears Pizza, except hopefully without the murder and convoluted story that we don't totally understand. I even made a couple mock-ups so that this can actually happen. So, share this with Scott on Reddit if you want to see a real-life Freddy Fazbears, and let me jump in. Firstly, location, right? The obvious answer here is to go with the closed ChuckECheese location. ChuckECheese recently has closed 34 locations across the US, with locations closing in California, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Iowa, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, Virginia, and Wisconsin. So, any of these locations could be used as a potential first location at the very least, with some states having multiple closures. Buying one of these locations would be expensive, and online I couldn't find any real reports on how much it would be. You'd have to work that out with ChuckECheese. However, to open and operate a ChuckECheese location would range from $1.17 million to $1.83 million, with a franchise fee of $800,000, according to ChuckECheese's section of franchisehelp.com. So assuming the higher end of the price range, this would require an investment of around $2.63 million, not taking into account that these locations are closed and they're probably just looking to break even on it and maybe not make money. But which state should we be selecting? Well, looking on Google Trends, we can actually see what states search for Five Nights at Freddy's the most. Looking for the search term Freddy Fazbears Pizza, since that would be the name of the location, we see Virginia searching it the most over the past 12 months as of April 2021, followed by Florida, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and Texas in that order. Comparing that to our list of states, Virginia is the state with the highest search and has a close location in Fredericksburg. And I don't know about you, but the fact that it's in Fredericksburg, like Freddy, that seems like fate to me. But there is also the thought of Florida, who is the second most searched and is only slightly less searched, so it's like a close second, and has multiple ChuckECheese restaurants closed, located in Miami, North Lauderdale, Miami Gardens, and Green Acres, so there is room for expansion. Florida is also a popular tourist spot thanks to the Disney park in Orlando, where I would go with my family. I think we've went 2 or 3 times. So it's probably a better idea to go with Florida's Miami location, even though Orlando and Miami aren't really that close, but it's still centralized, okay? And everything's open in Florida, so you can start work on it right away. So the Miami ChuckECheese location is the first one to be bought by Scott Cawthon. What would it look like? Well, many fan creations always make it appear the same as just a normal ChuckECheese, but replacing the logo and text. Probably the most famous one being the image used in MatPat's old FNAF theories. But we could take this one step further. Since the inside of the restaurant is already seen in-game, we can take that same design concept and just convert it to real life. I feel like that's pretty obvious. With the red and black squares along the wall, potentially outlined with additional decoration. You would also need to either replace or repaint the tables and booths and stuff like that, along with replacing the posters on the wall and the banners hanging above. The purple would also be changed to another color, most likely red, or maybe more of the red and black square pattern we see along the walls in the first couple games. The animatronics, if included, could easily be updated with Freddy, Chica, and Bonnie designs. Well, I mean easy in comparison to everything else that needs to be done. And once that's done, you just need to replace the songs that play out of the speakers, and then boom, you got working stage shows. I don't know if Foxy would need to have his own section, or if you'd want to add that off to the side, or if you want to use the kind of separate stage that's on some of the ChuckECheese stages. I don't know, it depends on the location, if it actually has one, but other than that, that's just more construction work. Now, what makes this different than your typical kids play joint, you ask? While it does actually have the FNAF characters, not infringing on copyright because Scott would be doing this all himself, there is another aspect of the place that I think would make this even more unique and bring in more sales. FNAF is a horror franchise after all, and for some reason a whole load of these kids love being scared crapless by the many animatronics. So why shouldn't this location offer a spooky surprise for anyone willing to come after dark? Much like how Security Breach will have a day and night cycle, why not let the restaurants have the same? Where instead of closing at 9 p.m, they swap to a creepy and horror-themed joint where the kids can come to get scared while eating pizza and playing games. The lights can flicker, you have people dressed up, like a year-round haunted house. We could even get some of the games we see in Pizzeria Simulator, like Fruity Maze and Midnight Motorist, and real physical arcade machines. All you need is a TV monitor. People do it all the time on YouTube. It would actually be an incredible idea that would suck in a lot more people and increase profits late into the night. This also works for adults who are fans of the series, who may not want to deal with the children and the kid-friendly atmosphere that the location would have during the day. This time frame would feature actors in the FNAF suits, but not Springlock suits because, well, we all know how that ends. But this would be just like a Halloween haunt for our Canadian friends or whatever Disney does. It's like Halloween Horror Nights or whatever it's called over there. People in costumes who can't touch but aim to scare, maybe jiggling some doors or hiring actors working as kids or patrons who get lured away, maybe even making a nightmare Fredbear suit. There is so much that you can do. Oh, you can have like Foxy slowly peek out from behind it unless someone like looks or something like that. You can have him slowly peek out and then you can... Ah! Eventually, of course, you could expand, opening more Fazbear locations at the other closed ChuckECheeses. And I feel like ChuckECheese would be down for that too, because the resulting competition could help boost their sales as well, since there would be kids who don't want to go to a horror-themed joint at night, but have a newly ignited or rediscovered joy for pizzeria arcades and animatronic bands. And hell, even as a joke, you could open up Chica's Party World, because we all know that Scott's gonna have some form of like ARG with these locations if this is actually a thing. Scott, I have an idea for that too. Hit me up. The menu would serve pizza, obviously, but also themed meals like Chica's chicken wings or Bonnie's breakfast for dinner, since, you know, eggs. Maybe Foxy's flapjacks. It will definitely use a little work, but I'm honestly thinking it would taste and look incredible, both the menu and the food respectively. I have a design in mind, but let's be honest, I can't show my whole hand, can I? No, I actually gotta leave some stuff to actually hopefully make this a thing. So, cause you know, if there's some mystery, Scott might actually like, you know, cause we all know how he loves mystery. And Scott, by the way, I'm happy to help. I love this series and would travel to see a Fazbear restaurant like this happen. And if you go with the Florida location like I suggested, everything is open, so you're already good to go. Maybe not morally speaking, but just like roleplay William Afton and you'll be fine. So, share this video with Scott on Reddit and any other media you can so he can help see it. Sky Daddy Scott, please make this a thing and please let me help. I promise I will be professional and I won't actually call you Sky Daddy Scott to your face. If you want to work together, feel free to message me on Instagram since the channel doesn't really have an official Instagram, or shoot us an email and I'm sure we can work something out. However, now I'm gonna move on to reading out some comments from previous videos. XX Wingpaw XX Kit Kat said, Chris Afton is Sammy Emily because William Afton kidnapped Sammy Emily, but why would William kidnapped Sammy Emily? The only canon name in that sentence is William Afton, so I'm just gonna ignore the rest. Ben Murray said, y'all are pumping out the FNAF content. I love it. It's what the people want. It actually got so bad that people were messaging me on Instagram asking when the next FNAF video was going to be. And then they started commenting on my personal videos on my personal channel asking for more FNAF. So, yeah, I think we're gonna keep going with it. Blue Thunder said, if you had to be stuffed into one animatronic, which would it be? Probably Golden Freddy, because my body is unanimated and lacking life. And honestly, that's how I look when I'm working. I just sit there like this, just... That's me. The Masked Pupil Ari the Robot said, who would hate on Connor? People who can't spell my name correctly. Nah, I'm kidding. Even though it's at the beginning of every video. Sorry. People who hate on me are obviously people who don't understand quality content. I can't say that with a straight face. That's all the time we have for comments today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure you hit like and subscribe for daily gaming content and ring that bell to join the clan and level up. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been and shall remain Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video. And share this with Scott Coffin so that maybe a real life Freddy Fazbears Pizza could happen in the future. Yeah, I really want to do this. Scott, please, I will stop calling you Sky Daddy Scott if you let me do it. Please, unless you're into it, then I can keep saying it. Please, just DM me.